Wheel, Kyper, and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Not just real Kyper and Bourne. Derek Brandeo, Jen Rolnick, Sammy McKee all along for the ride, in which we saw Willie Nylander lead the charge with 4 points last night to down the New York Islanders 5-2 at Scotiabank Arena in a game we both attended but did not sit together.
We were both there. That's all that matters. We soaked it in.
You played dad last night. I saw
did.
some of your Instagram pics hung around the dressing room. I saw your son tapping each Islander as they came off the ice and uttered, "What is wrong with you guys? You guys stink. You're embarrassing me right now."
I will say, when we left, we're walking out, and he's not a huge hockey guy, but he was almost in tears. And he was walking out, and he goes, "I think I want to cheer for the Leafs now." I was like, hey, you make your own choices. Go for it, bud.
I'm sure he was okay after the first 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of sleepy on the Toronto Maple Leafs part. But then it changed quickly in the second period.
Yeah.
As far as first hockey game experiences go,
Yeah.
I'm not sure it could have been a worse start to watching a hockey game for a first game.
I'm telling you, there was 6 whistles, maybe 7 in the first 90 seconds. It was build up and warm ups and okay, here we go. Icing and offside and puck out of play. It was really slow, and then nothing happened for the Leafs. So the crowd got into their Bay Street mode, and everyone started making business deals and forgot there's a game going on. So yeah, a little slow to get going, but it came around.
I think for me, at times I can be critical for Sheldon Keefe being too slow to react to some things, including changing it up, and pulling a goalie. But last night, the switch for Nylander to Marner opened up the floodgates for Tavares and Willie.
Yeah. John Tavares, superstar John Tavares. When you pay a guy a lot of money, you're hoping some nights he's the best player in the rink. And I think tough to make an argument for anyone but John Tavares. Talking about a performance in that second period, 8 shots on net in the second period last night.
You want to give Tavares, I want to give Keefe credit for doing this, obviously. But at the same time, it's not like he's going to something that's never worked before. It's like, oh, we're stunted offensively again. Let's go with the best line in the NHL last year with Marner, Matthews, and
but at times he has not done it. At times
he's doing it more now.
The offense has remained stale. You're not getting secondary scoring, and he sat on it. And yeah, you're right. It's stating the obvious. Like how many different true changes can he do to crank up this lineup outside of a drastic benching? And we've only really had one all season, and I think it was Marner for a shift or two.
It was like a shift, Mitch Marner. Yeah. I think, that's really it. You're right. It never happens because I guess, what are the options? You give Engvall someone's minutes or Kerfoot their minutes or Yarncroc their minutes. Like there's just not really somewhere else to go. So if A doesn't work, he tries B, and if B doesn't work, they go home in April.
All right, let's go to Sheldon Keefe on Kipper's Clipper on why the change in the second period.
Just thought the way that both lines responded to the change yesterday just tells me it's a good time to go back to that mix. And we've been looking at it a little bit previously. Obviously, it was the Boston game, I think last week or whatever, however long ago that was now, and didn't feel like we needed to stick with it at that point. But just I saw myself going back to it, and like I said, the way the guys responded yesterday it tells me it's a good time to stay with it.
So that clip was from today. I labeled all these clips poorly, so I sewered my good friend Derek Brandeo here. But that clip was from today, but it's relevant with all the stuff he said there. What'd you think of that?
That part was on the shuffling of the lines, the second clip?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I just don't think there's that many options. So it's, to me, Keefe's work with changing up the lines like that. It was a bad first period against a not very great Islanders team. I hate to say that sometimes, but, he went to option B and it worked. So good on him.
Yeah, I think between now and the end of the season, though, I'd like to see a few more of those type of adjustments that just don't begin and end with Marner and Nylander.
Right.
And I do believe that at times we're going to have to see maybe a top six guy go to the third line or someone out of the bottom six moving up just to give it a change of pace. And there is once again some movement on that fourth line.
Yeah.
And the one that we thought we'd see at the beginning of the season and the one that was shaping up towards, I don't know, Christmas has changed yet again.
The fourth line. Looking at Kerfoot, Holmberg, Anderson for tonight.
Tomorrow.
And
Tomorrow.
where did Anderson come from? All of a sudden now it's Hunt out, right?
Mm-hmm. So Hunt clears waivers and he's going to play with the Marlies, which is nice to have a guy down there like that.
McMahon in.
Yep.
And Austin Reese out. This guy is your leading body checker on your team.
Right.
And now they're not too happy with him, it appears.
Well, and listen, I think on this show, I've been the Aston Reese guy. I've been the guy being like, I think he's a good defensive player and he's a good two-way guy and smart. But there's just not a lot of vibrancy there. Not a lot of pop, not a lot of excitement. Now he's out of the lineup. Keep finding him inconsistent. And with McMahon coming up and Holmberg kind of being permanent fixture now, Anderson getting in, I think he's saying to Aston Reese, now or never, man.
There's a third spot open here.
Yeah.
And now Anderson's in a race with Aston Reese. Hunt, we think, his next hockey game is going to be with the Toronto Marlies.
Yeah, he's in their lineup.
Or there's still time to think about trading for one more fourth line type of player to bring in. Who wins this thing?
Yeah, I really think McMahon has looked good and he's been impactful. Do you want to listen to the clip on Aston Reese and Keefe not loving him right now? Sammy, we got that one? Yeah, let's listen to that. And Joey Anderson coming in.
We just think Joey did a good job when he was here. And, roster and lineup and all those kind of things are fluid and they change. But we thought he did a good job here. And I can't remember specifically what the circumstances were, why we sent him back or what that situation was. But we just like him as a player. It gives us a right shot down there in the bottom six. So I like that part of it. And I think that, for Reeser, his game's been a little inconsistent for me. And it keeps those guys on their toes as well, whether it's McMahon coming in and that's, sort of push a guy like Dryden Hunt and Aston Reese. Now Holmberg, like all these guys are in competition for their spots. Whether it's Camp, Engvall, Kerfoot, just the same. You got some guys coming in here that are pushing and showing that they can help us. So I think it keeps that group honest as well.
In about 12 minutes or maybe 15, we're going to welcome in Brad May, former National Hockey League player. He could certainly speak into that type of role, that type of guy that can come in and really like lock in a role. And whether it's Aston Reese or Hunt, like it's such a specialized thing. And, I did take pride in my career to be that guy that could just come in and lock in a spot on the fourth line and just know what my role is. But two things had to be abundantly clear from the beginning of the game and to the end of the game is that I have to be noticed.
Yeah.
And if I'm not grabbing any attention off of my opponents.
Totally.
If I'm either, I got to be a prick or I got to be annoying as hell. But if I'm 0 for 2 in that department playing against them, I'm done.
Yeah. Score, hit, fight,
and there's
talk,
just too many games.
Forecheck, be relevant.
Too many games.
Yeah.
Even with Aston Reese. And I don't care what the stat sheet says that you led the team in hits. If they're unnoticeable hits, if they're not pissing off the other side,
right,
or creating some smaller energy outside of what's the big picture, what's the point of you being out there?
Well, and there's a whole case to be made about, so there's value on guys that stay on the right side of the puck defensively, right? You're above your guy, you're good sticks and all that sort of stuff, but it can't be your whole thing. You know, like that's a bonus that comes with whatever it is you bring to helping the team win. It shouldn't be the thing you do to help the team win. Otherwise, you say, I'm going to just always err on the safe side, and you guys go do the hard stuff. You guys go score and forecheck and all that stuff, and he's just not contributing enough at the other areas right now.
Don't you feel that we're kind of watching a transition in the bottom six here in the last couple of weeks? Like, Bourne, you sent that sort of interesting graph with how far down Kerfoot's minutes have gone, what Zach Aston Reese's minutes have done. It's like they've sort of spent half the year evaluating what those guys are going to bring them, and now they've brought up these guys from the Marlies, like the Holmbergs and the Andersons and now the McMahons, to be like, hey, let's see what these guys can do. And their minutes have been going up, and they've been performing pretty well. It's just been an interesting transition to sort of watch halfway through the year.
Yeah. And it is, you know, I think it was Nick Richard, again, the guy we had mentioned, a tweet of his talking about, is this the Leafs seeing what they can get from some cheaper Marlies guys and say, if they're just as good as these other guys, can you trade, can you make room? You know, at the deadline, can you trade Kerfoot if his ice time's going to drop below Engvall's and Yarncrocs as it has? Can you trade Engvall himself if Bobby McMahon is the same player but cheaper? So I think the Leafs want to know what options they have.
God.
It just, to me, doesn't it?
Oh, I know he's not, right? But isn't it worth finding out?
What you just said there scares me the most.
Okay.
That we are almost out of the month of January, and you're in the finding out stage of your season. Like, shouldn't this all been decided on a year that you're supposed to contend for a Stanley Cup? And you're still holding tryouts?
Well, you've done your finding out. You tried out Simmons and you decided he couldn't do it. You held your tryout for Aston Reese and you got some answers. And when you don't like the answers, it's still tryout season until you like the answers.
Yeah, well, you're running out of time here.
Sure are. But it's terrifying.
Just eye test wise, I know you said that Kerfoot's minutes have been going down, but he just feels so much less involved in the games than he has in years past, in terms of playing in big spots and in terms of, like, you know, how much he played in the top
13-30 last night.
He played in the top six so much last year. He seemed to be that. Remember how long we banged our heads against the wall with Willie, him, and Tavares? It just feels to me that he's just so much less part of the team at this moment that maybe they are figuring out if they can go on without him and use his money in a trade. Who knows? But I'm kind of interested in this transition in the bottom six. It's kind of fascinating for me.
7 goals for Kerfoot through 45 games or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
You know, 3.5 schmil.
For the most part, he has seemed important, likable, respected in the room. But it is trending in the wrong direction here for him on level of importance as the season closes down here.
His time on ice the last 6 games is 13.5, 9 something, 13 change, 11, 12, 13.
That's pretty low for him.
It is, but you know, there's a couple games prior to that where he's up in the 16s, but it's pretty consistently below where you would have him at. His first month of the season was 16 minutes. So,
also in the second hour, Eddie Olczyk, former NHLer, good friend of the show, color analyst for Seattle Kraken, will be in studio as he will be the lead analyst tomorrow night for their national TNT broadcast in the U.S. He's in town. And he said he'll drop in the second hour. So all of you on YouTube or tweeting Sammy, we can take some questions in and we can have some fun with just give me a chance. Just give me a chance. Eddie O.
That's great.
It'll be a lot of fun.
I was enjoying reading his Wikipedia bio today, and he is a big horse guy.
Oh, yeah.
Huge
handicapper for NBC once upon a time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's get Sheldon Keefe. Did we do his thoughts on Willie and JT's performance last night?
We didn't have that yet. Would you like to?
Let's have a listen.
Yeah, terrific. 2 great goals. And Willie's been excellent, and he was excellent today in that second period. He was really good. I thought second period was the best period John Tavares played all season. I thought that got Willie going. So Willie finished the chances, and Willie was good, but I thought JT was excellent. He led us in the second period. It was really good.
Yeah, and that pass to Willie to kind of start the whole thing going was like world class. Outside and then the backhand drop, one-timer. It was a fantastic goal. I really thought I'd see in his Leaf career more setups like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we see them because he's got a vision of the way he likes to score goals, and it doesn't really line up with that type of playmaking.
It's funny, in my experience watching him over his career, it felt like coming to Toronto and playing with Mitch Marner, his rookie or his first season here, not his rookie year. It felt like he became a goal scorer. He scored 47 times with one of the best setup men in the NHL. And like the mindset seemed to be more of a goal scoring mindset. And, with the Islanders, he made superstars out of whether it was Josh Bailey or Okposo or Matt Molson or P.A. Peranto or whoever he played with.
But he was never like a 60, 70 point assist guy. He was always like a 40.
Yeah.
Right? Which is still for a true number one playmaker, 40 assists a year is kind of on the low side.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the numbers were, but he felt like a guy that was a part of his game. That was an element of it, and it has felt like it less here at times. But
do you agree with me that he has, for the most part, been a centerman that has a shoot-first mentality?
Definitely as a Leaf. I didn't think of him that way as an Islander, but definitely since he's been here, that seemed to be where the focus is. So, yeah, good to see him do well for his teammates. I got to tell you, I don't know if it's because the Islanders are not a fast team, but like, that's his sweet spot, right?
No, they're really slow.
So that's JT's best game of the year.
Against
he
a
looked like he was
really slow thinking team.
Right. Which, kind of plays into what you've said about his skating in the past, that when the game, and he's been working on his stride, I guess, with the last few weeks and trying to get back to what he had earlier in the year. But when he is fast in a game, he's special.
The one thing, I took the game in live as well, and the one thing that stood out for me watching it last night was just everything that I didn't like about their game early was very successful for them last night.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that stretch pass, that long stretch pass, either the long, like it's a 200-foot play. Most all of the goals last night started from their own zone.
Samsonov got an apple.
Even Samsonov got into the game.
Yeah.
Right? So everything that worked last night with the stretch and the conversion on goals is everything that I feel like will not work against Tampa Bay and Boston.
Hate that as a coach. You don't want the wrong stuff rewarded.
And it was last night.
Yeah.
Including, Bunting's penalty shot that led to a penalty shot. Everything was this 200-foot stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It was a lot of that. It was a back and forth game until the Leafs just like took away the Islanders' ability to break the puck out. At some point, it just became the Leafs' game there in the second period. But should we listen to Keith on what changed in the second period? Did we get that one off the top?
Like that one.
Let's do that one.
You're hoping that your team is going to say the right things and be focused and be in the right mindset. I don't feel I need to go in there and say too much other than pointing out the obvious and putting the game onto them. They need to respond. They got to go out and it takes a significant effort to be able to take over a game like that against a team that's, they're playing hard. They're trying to get some traction here and get some wins, and they're leading after a first period after taking it to us pretty good. Like, for us to flip the game like that, it's going to take a significant effort. And the players have to be in the right frame of mind to be able to do that. And I was really, really, really impressed with our team's ability to bounce back and flip the game like that. It was really good to see.
I think that's really smart of him to think of a mid-season game when you consider if these are the dog days of the season, to just let them sort it out. For him now, halfway through, to go out in the dressing room now and rant and
flipping
bark
over
at
Gatorade
them,
containers.
all they're going to do is just get tired of your voice.
Yeah. 100% agree. And that's, I think the more years you coach, the more you recognize that you have to have faith in the room, because you can't go in every intermission. It was actually a criticism that we had levied against Keefe watching All or Nothing going into Game 6, when, there's the speech in playoffs and he's going, it's now or never, and who's going to be the hero, and, talking it up like there's no tomorrow. And then when there was a tomorrow, it's tough to go in the next day and give that same speech, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to shoot your bullets before you're in the proper battle.
You don't.
That doc gave us so much early on.
There was nothing.
Oh my God. We talked about that
Heaven
so
forbid
much.
they gave us a good version.
Oh my God.
But there is kind of this buffer zone that he's in where I think reality is set in for him that in all probability you're not going to catch Boston and your playoff spot is safe. You think that it should lead you to at least home ice advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So what's left to really
No, I don't
get
believe.
mad at
I
them?
don't believe what you're saying for a second.
Coach is going to keep his mouth shut.
That you just go, nothing to do now. We'll just let the season play out.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when you don't have the feeling like,
We need this.
the high end pressure,
Yeah.
the poop's about to hit the fan,
Mm-hmm.
feel,
It's getting redundant.
then you can kind of calm yourself down.
Yeah.
But when
so true.
But when
that is so
but
true.
when he starts feeling the pressure, like
Yeah.
that's the true sign
Yeah.
of someone. Don't show me when everything's fine. I want to see how you act when everything's going haywire.
I agree.
And that's the
everything you're
tendency
saying.
in the playoffs is that you don't have the comfort zone that he has to go in there and think about it and go, oh, okay, I'm just going to leave them alone.
I trust them.
Like
All of a sudden, if it were real
good
important,
luck.
would you trust them?
The question is, if you're down 2-1 in the series, can you trust them and not go in there and yell at them?
No. I really think it's maybe the most accurate or most fair assessment of Keefe is he gets really worked up in moments.
Really worked
you
up.
know, and it's like,
And we see it on the bench. Sometimes he can lose it
Yeah.
on officials.
Yeah, and I've seen him do it at intermission. We had one weekend in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, where, we're up 4-0 in game 57 and we're in first place by a mile. And screaming about a penalty at the end of a period or whatever. I think he has learned a little bit to try to save himself for when it matters. But yeah, when it matters, can you keep that composure the same way? That's one thing that stands out to me about the great coaches. And, you have to coach for a long time to feel like that. But even they get worked up and they have their moments. But you see, I think Cooper in the biggest moments, or even Quenneville in some of the biggest moments, not a whole lot, of animation.
Do you remember John Cooper in the playoffs when he saw Nick Paul doing the interview? It's like, get in here now.
Oh, yeah.
And Paul was like, huh?
I said,
He's like, yep, I'm
interview
going.
over. Got to go.
I got a
Bye.
7-year contract on the line. I got to go.
You hear like the old-timey running sound from a cartoon?
That was
Skedaddling.
that was awesome.
That was.
And who knows what happened the moment those doors closed.
Yeah.
But
It's not to say that all coaches don't get worked up at times, but
You need to pick your spots with it.
yeah, it's so important.
You really do need to pick your spots with it. And he does. He has an elite mad face, Keefe. When he gets really worked up and he gets going,
He changes colors.
He does.
which
he
doesn't help.
He becomes a different color.
The Red Hulk.
Yes.
shade.
Yeah.
Furnace face.
Yeah, it happens. He gets a little worked up.
All right, we're going to talk to
gonna call him now.
Brad May. But in the meantime, you want to start with Samsonov?
Yeah, let's listen to the Samsonov clip, shall we?
Excellent.
Oh.
And there's just going through some of it with Curtis Sanford in there, and there's some things that not something that maybe don't show up is like some of the high end saves that he's made, but Curtis looks at this stuff a lot closer than really any of us, and he felt it's as strong a game as he's played in terms of what he's asking him to do and the process he's looking him to play with. He's looking very comfortable in the net right now.
With every solid game by a Leaf goaltender, Curtis Sanford becomes more and more of a genius.
Oh, there's a full
is it
profile of
unbelievable?
him today in The Athletic, I think.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, they're just pumping him up like unbelievable.
Quick question. Do you know the name of the Islanders goaltender coach? All he's got is
Do you know,
Sorokin and...
like 3/4 of the coaches.
Right. By the way, it's Piero Greco, who used to be Freddie Anderson's goalie coach here, who's the Islanders guy. So doing pretty well for himself.
Curtis Stanford also he's also shrined at the Harry Limley Bayshore and Sound. So he played for the Platers at the time, and he's now the goalie coach. So big deal.
Samsonov gets him out of the first round. There'll be a statue for Curtis. Okay?
In Sound, there might already be
only
one.
Only in Toronto you could pump up a goalie coach.
If you could go be a bit part player for an organization like the Leafs, like be it a video coach, say.
Star.
Yeah, or go make real money somewhere else. Your best chance is to come here and have success, and you will be famous.
Oh, my God.
Didn't work for me, but for Curtis Sanford and for many others who've gone on to great success.
So I dug up, so was there a picture today of Matt Murray wearing the glasses today?
He's wearing.
So I did some homework there for you.
Oh,
there
wow.
you go. There you go.
Swivel vision goggles tech to help goaltenders, Murray, prepare for season. Yeah, so... There are no lenses, just rubberized blinders intended to block your peripheral vision. So it's a tracking aid that forces you to use the middle of your eyes and the strongest part of your eyes, moving your head and tracking the puck. That's for people on YouTube who got to see me do that.
This is hockey's version of the movie Tin Cup when he had the shanks. Did you ever see it?
Yes, put your tees in your left pocket.
And then the ball coming from your forehead.
You've seen those broken clubs on the range that you have to swing slowly for them to stay together. We're onto gadgets now to sort things out.
Let's bring in Brad May, former NHLer, Stanley Cup champion, and someone that's probably used a gadget or two to change his golf game or hockey game or anything at all to help you. Mayday.
I need all the help in the world, Kipper. but you know what? It's I'm a mental midget when it comes to that stuff.
This is where the game's gone to, Mayday, is that we're now watching like goalies wear sunglasses during practice.
Yeah. Listen, everybody's to each his own, I guess. But I don't get it. You know what? At the end of the day, if a player somehow generates energy and focus most importantly, whatever they're going to do, I guess stay out of their way. We had played with a lot of guys with superstitions and that would do different things or the same thing every day, and it had to happen at the exact same moment. And I always kind of would seek out the guys that did that, and then if they needed to be in that corner at 5 p.m., 15 minutes before the meeting or whatever, I'd just go stand in that corner and try to disrupt their their superstition and have fun with it. But some players are tightly wound.
Well, the Leaf players may do some weird things, but they're having a little bit of success at home. What are your thoughts on teams that have way more success at home than on the road? Is it a good thing that you take care of business, or would you like to see a little bit of being able to take care of business everywhere is obviously best, but does it matter if you're lopsided one way or the other?
Well, I think it matters in the sense that you just want to find consistency, right? And be a team that's really predictable. And that predictable play would be beating or outplaying, the other team. But I don't know if home ice advantage means as much, but it does if your team finishes higher in the standings and come playoff time. That if you're good at home and you have one extra game, conceivably in your own building, that's a good thing. But I think a lot of it has to do with the season, where your road trips are, where those games are played, and how your players are playing. I think right now, for the Leafs, they've been so good for the last few months, really. I mean, they've had a few games that they'd love to have back, but they're playing hard, they're playing well, and I think at times you might have a letdown because of that. But it seems like their best players, and again last night, stepped up, and it's a committee of 4 up front, and 2 of them, Tavares and Nylander, they were great. That pass by Nylander, I don't even like to call it a pass, but that little flip play out of his zone, that was unbelievable. Like, what a play. How many players think like that actually have that three-dimensional, view of the ice the way he was able to do that? I thought that was great.
Just his ability now to stay focused almost from game to game, and the strength that he shows on the puck, and was it Mayfield that he kind of picked his pocket a little
Yeah.
bit that led to the goal here? And what is it? Just maturity, Mayday? Well, why are we seeing this guy go to a complete other level?
Well, the crazy thing with him, and if I had a knock on him, is there are games where you just expect so much more where he didn't bring it in the past. He's a big guy. He's strong. I mean, he can skate. He's one of the most, I say perfect, but beautiful skaters. Like, when he's using his edges, you don't even hear it. He glides on top of the ice. However, I mean, he's so agile. I love the guy that, when he's playing well, and sometimes he leaves you wanting more. And I think that's a good thing because, he's obviously proven that he can do other things, but I think it's maturity. I also think it's, hey, I'm going to get paid. That's definitely a motivation for sure. I know his father was the same way, highly skilled and in contract years. This guy, or, years that he was able to make bank. Michael Nylander was a stud, at times the best player on the ice. So this is a good thing for Toronto. It really is.
Yeah, I got to keep giving them 1 year deals, Mayday. That's the way to go. We were looking at the Leafs lineup, and one thing that's been interesting is they've got a couple guys up from the American League, McMahon and Holmstrom and Anderson, and not household names by any means, but they're these guys who seem committed to being fourth liners. They just want to be in the league, and they'll dump it in, and they'll go forecheck, and it's, they know what they're there to do. And in the past, the Leafs have had Thornton and Spezza and Simmons and all these guys who weren't really typical fourth line players. What are your thoughts on the role of a fourth liner and acceptance of that role? Is it important, or is it just you need good players there?
Well, I have to tell you, I'd say bingo when you just said that about the other players that they had. It's a role. I was listening to Nick early in the show here. It's a role that actually is, I know as crazy as it sounds, it's a specialized role, and you have to have the ability to bring the energy, turn up a game, bring your teammates into the fight, regain composure or focus, and then maybe on the flip side of that, which is something that obviously the NHL doesn't have as much of, but you need a character or characters there that can really turn it around and be noticed. If you're not noticed as a fourth line player, when I say that, if you're not a penalty killer, that the penalty killing did a great job that night. If you're a fourth line player that isn't noticed for throwing the body around or bringing the energy or having some extended shifts in the offensive zone, you're not going to be there that long. And I like the idea. That's a good thing to have a committee at the bottom. And the bottom's a great place. But the other part is these players aren't just satisfied with being on the fourth line. They need to get their feet wet. They need to make the National Hockey League, and they want to have success. And a player like Kerfoot, I heard you guys talking about, he still plays a lot of minutes. I mean, I know 13 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but 13 minutes is actually above average, outside of your top six.
Right.
And it's, for traditional fourth line players, it's 6, 8, 10 minutes a night, 10 probably being the high water mark there. Kerfoot has that ability, and you know what? If he's still around, I don't know what happens at the trade deadline, but if he's still around, you've got a veteran player there who's actually a very likable guy in the locker room, which that is an element, the ingredients that players in the depth of your team have to bring every day, to become and be a gelled hockey team. I think Kerfoot's going to be a good one down the stretch for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I'd love to see 7 or 8 guys fighting for positions and listening to their coach talk about competition and practice amongst themselves. Listen, that's what it's all about, as long as they have good attitudes. If you have any guy that wants to pout because he's on the fourth line, honestly, show him the door right away.
Well, and I don't know whether or not a Kerfoot would accept that role or find a way to almost turn himself. And I don't think he'll ever be as tough or sturdy as a Chris Draper, but certainly he can skate like Chris Draper. He can create energy like Chris Draper. I just don't know if he's got that intestinal fortitude to get his nose as dirty as maybe Chris did at times on a fourth line situation. But over the last, year and a half, we've seen so many names on that fourth line go in and out. Aston Reese in, Aston Reese out, Hunt in, Hunt out. Last year, Spezza in, Spezza out. Meaning, why can't they get it right? Why can't they lock something in and just leave those guys alone? Tampa Bay's done it with Maroon and Perry. It looks like Boston's okay with Foligno and Greer. And these guys are still trying to figure it out.
Well, it's the ability, or not, I said not even ability, the awareness that I'm on a great team here. This is my chance. I can tell you one thing. Kerfoot playing on your top six, you're not winning the Stanley Cup.
Right.
It's all right. You're well, it's evidenced by, not that put it on him, but it's evidence that the Toronto Maple Leafs had zero success in the playoffs, right? If we're talking about rounds one, you have to have players slotted in the right positions. And when you talk about all those four players from Boston to Tampa that you just alluded to, other than Corey Perry, and I guess Nick Foligno as well, but Corey Perry being the highest skill level with the greatest pedigree and probably a Hall of Fame type player and numbers. You got gritty, big, solid character players that, you know what, to be on a team, to be on the fourth line, third line, be the seventh defenseman. If you're not jacked to be part of that team, to go the distance, that's another weakness on teams. If you don't have guys that to really embrace their roles, you're never going to win. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, understandable. The the Leafs, everything they do right now is tailored towards how do they have more success in that first round, and so we have our eye towards getting better at the deadline and what they're going to move out and what they're going to do. It feels like the only places they're really lacking are, Morgan Rielly maybe isn't the best number 1D. Maybe you don't like their middle six wingers. But, to me, one place that they've been really good is on their third pair. They've had Sandin and Liljegren, a couple of smaller defensemen. Do you think you can win in playoffs with that, though? I hate, I'm not asking you to just say, you need toughness all the time or anything like that. But, they are small defensemen as good as they've been. And some people in Leaf Nation still go, they've had success. But I worry about them come a more intense type of hockey.
Well, it's going to be the question even after the trade deadline, whatever ends up happening, what the roster is going to be, that these questions are going to be asked until success is had, right? So, but at the end of the day, they have a really good team. They've proven it this year. Obviously, games in November, in theory, aren't as important as the playoff rush and down the stretch, and certainly playoff games. But you put these players in, again, it's about embracing a role and understanding how you have to play. Their lack of success or failures, if you want to call it that, could end up being a great, strong point of this new team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, where, we haven't seen it in the past, but maybe they've learned from their mistakes or their environment, their situation that they found themselves in the last couple of years. And now you've got a player that's 365 days older and another season of learning and that the environment that they're playing in. I like, and I wouldn't be this guy. I was on your show 3 months ago, and I was pretty alarmed and worried about the Toronto Maple Leafs and their makeup. One thing's been, they've been on a nice little run. In that run, they've lost 4 of their top defensemen, and they're still getting the job done. So the depth is there. It's just about when you're in the playoffs, are you willing to do whatever it takes? And if you're a small, speedy forward on the fourth line, that doesn't mean you can't be tough. That doesn't mean you can't finish hits. That doesn't mean that you can't be in the right spot above the play, on whatever zone you're playing in. I mean, those are attentions to detail that Sheldon Keefe has to, drive through his players. But the moment you get guys that embrace their role, oh my God, what a difference, because you're now not fighting the river. You're going with it. So I think it's a good thing that they've lost and they're more mature. They certainly seem that way. And but a couple defensemen on the back end, bigger, stronger, tougher to play against, I'd like to see.
Okay. All right. And you are right. We haven't had you on the show for a while. And I can assure you that when we did have you on the show, no one envisioned the Boston Bruins being 14, 15 points ahead of the Toronto Maple Leafs at some point during the season here. So as much as you like the Leafs here, is there any part of you that says, as is right now, say the Boston Bruins didn't do a thing, say the Leafs didn't do a thing here, can this current Leaf team if they match up against a Boston Bruin, can you envision them still finding a way to maybe keep a series close or winning the thing? And I need to remind you that the Boston Bruins have only lost 5 games in 46 this year.
Yeah, Nick, it's amazing. If they keep on this same pace, if I'm not mistaken, they're the best record in the National Hockey League of all time. Regular season points.
That's the pace, yep.
Who saw that coming?
Winning percentage. That's unbelievable. And you know, I don't think there's a team in the NHL that can actually match the Boston Bruins today in a 7-game series. I mean, I guess in theory, teams can show up, and it's a tale of 2 different seasons they always talk about. But the Bruins look amazing. Now Toronto's not that far off either. You know, does it come down to penalty killing and power play, which it always does? And Boston's goalies have been amazing. Toronto's goalies have been good. And still in that idea of we don't know who number 1 is or who's it going to be. I think it's kind of emerging as we speak now in the last few games. But I think the Toronto Maple Leafs have the team to be able to beat Boston if everything goes right. But the Bruins right now, boy, they're playing great, and their goaltending has been amazing. Their top players are literally elite. It's been fun to watch them.
Mayday, just while we're going around the league, I feel like we should ask every single hockey person we talk to, what'd you think of what went down in Vancouver and Rick Tocchet getting hired and Boudreau out?
Well, to start it off, because I don't want to pay, Rick Tocchet's awesome. He was one of the guys, I'm sure, Nick, you played against him around the same age as you. You guys are a tad older than I am. I looked up to Rick Tocchet. I fought Rick Tocchet. I admire Rick Tocchet. I wanted to be like Rick Tocchet. So I'm excited for him. And I'm excited for his coaching staff, bringing Adam Foote and Sergei Gonchar. You know what? 2 defensemen, different types of defensemen, but they also had, outside of Adam, they had success in Pittsburgh and with Mike Sullivan. I love talk. I think the situation in Vancouver sucked from the start. I think Bruce Boudreau, although he's been around the National Hockey League, he's coached many different teams. He's one of the most winning coaches ever in the National Hockey League, and I think they screwed him over. You know, not even bad, it was awful. Yeah. And I didn't like the PR to it. I think it was terrible. I'm a former Vancouver Canuck player twice, and so I don't like ripping the team I used to play for. But whatever they did or the decision making to lead to that, I think was, you know, piss poor. And but at the end of the day, Bruce is a weathered coach. He's been around the thing, but I love the idea that or the environment that the Canucks fans recognized it too. They're almost turning on management in Vancouver, and guess what? Lack of success does that, and I admire the fans for that. They stood up for Bruce, although that doesn't really mean much. I just didn't like it from the start.
You know that market by playing in it. Can he win a few games to make people forget, or is that type of a fan base that isn't easily that they would easily forget about how this thing went down?
Well, the crazy part for me is they lost 2 summers ago. They had a really bad offseason. The Vancouver Canucks did, and they were actually an emerging team, certainly a competitive team under Travis Green. They lost Tanev. They lost Markstrom. They lost Edler. And I'm trying to think who the other. There was another one, prominent piece as well. They didn't retool their team. 2 coaches have now been fired with the players that have been playing on the ice there for Vancouver in the last year and a half. Travis Green being the first, and of course what we just witnessed and watched with Bruce Boudreau. Are we that I'm not that separated from the game to think that there's going to be another coach that comes in and actually lights this team on fire? They don't have the pieces. They don't have the players consistently playing as well as either they're supposed to, or maybe they've been overvalued. The 2 top defensemen in Vancouver are arguably the worst defensemen in the National Hockey League. If you can imagine that, the 2 highest paid defensemen are actually in value, not that valuable, and they're eating up, you know, a significant amount of your salary cap space. If you have those ingredients or just that environment, you can't win. I think it's going to be tough for Talk, but they have to identify who they want to go forward with, because they have the ability. Now, I don't know what they're going to get back in return, but they have the ability to probably trade at least five of their top 8 players on their roster right now that are supposed to be their top players. And I would I would think that they're moving at least 3 of them.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting between now and March 3rd, NHL trade deadline. Hey, Mayday, fantastic stuff today. Really appreciate your time, man.
I always love it, man. Always love it. Can't wait. This is the best time. Well, not after the All-Star break is when we start counting the games down and scoreboard watching. But no alarm in Toronto at this point. I'm excited. Their goaltending's been good. Bet their top players are elite, playing great.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good time to be a Maple Leafs fan. But I'll tell you what, we'll still be asking the same questions come the end of the season.
Yes, sir.
Same ones we asked before the season started.
Hey, we got to stay employed. I mean,
yeah, we don't want answers.
JB and Sammy. We throw it out there and we keep asking the same questions 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
You guys are great. You do a good job. Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
Brad
man.
May,
Appreciate
Stanley
ya.
Cup champion, and a top analyst on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.
Sure is. He's really good.
Rick Tocchet gonna dig himself out of this thing in the next
Do you want him to?
couple of weeks?
Absolute no-win situation for Rick Tocchet. Because if he comes in there and he says, hey, we're winning now.
Everyone's
It's
like,
like, no,
"Boo!"
stop winning. Stop winning. And then they keep losing. And then it could be like, well, we could have done that with Bruce.
You know
and
what?
he wouldn't have had to,
Well-
he's screwed.
No, you can be Marty St. Louis.
It's funny.
Lose valiantly.
With passion.
Someone I talked to today reminded me that when there's a coaching change, like look at the schedule, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bruce brought this up in his
Did
one of
he?
his last post games.
What'd he say?
Well, just he's like, it's not lost on me what the next schedule is. And aren't they playing Columbus?
Yeah, well,
and-
they got Columbus, Seattle, and I
Bruce
think
said that?
Chicago.
That's great.
So he just finished. Don't let Rick Tocchet play against the Edmonton Oilers, right?
You're right.
Keep Bruce for that game.
They got
Chicago tonight.
And then there's Seattle, Columbus, New Jersey, New York, Detroit. Yeah, there's some softer.
Jays did that with Charlie Montoyo.
Should be able to get Chicago tonight to get you off the ground running.
That's kind of the idea. It's just,
I would hope.
just prime the engine a little bit for a couple of wins. You know, if the Canucks are where are the Canucks in the standings? Maybe they're 26th or whatever their exact number is. You know, if they finish 24th or 28th,
They are 27th.
27th. So if they finish, around there, like the amount of lottery balls they get are not that much different. You would like to see everyone in a happier working environment. You'd like to see progress from your young guys, a happy Quinn Hughes and Pettersson.
The crazy thing is they're not that far from the bottom. They're 8 points up on the worst team in the league.
Once they trade a couple more players, they may be full Tom Petty here. Just
For how long?
free falling.
But for how long?
What do you mean? How long will they free fall?
How long does Rick Tocchet need to get Vancouver Canucks excited again?
I can tell you his contract's
years?
not very long.
3 years?
Were you not surprised at his contract?
What did you hear?
I heard that it's through 24-25, which is you finish out this year and then you get 2 years.
Yeah, I heard prorated this year and 3 more, but I'm
Okay.
not. That's not confirmed
Okay.
out of anything that I would report on. That's for
Right,
sure.
just
But I'd be surprised if he just got 2 full years out of this deal when he held all the cards.
Agreed.
So if he did, then I don't know. I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I'd be surprised too. That would make a lot more sense to me.
Can we talk more about the Leafs' supposed, starting goalie coming into the season wearing sunglasses at practice today?
Did we not do this?
No.
No, but we did. But I don't think it's a huge deal. Like, I think it's just
You mentioned it, but
the one thing I think is interesting is, was it Kyper yesterday who said, or you who said
no,
that,
it was Kyper. And it's
maybe it's like buying time to work on something like a swing thought at the range?
My first thought
Yeah.
when I saw the glasses is that, okay.
Well, you said it before you saw the glasses. You called it yesterday.
I did call it yesterday. And one of the things that Matt Murray, and this was an article that was written at the beginning of October. This isn't anything new. but it's what those goggles end up doing. It's a tracking aid that forces you to use the middle. You read this already, right?
Yeah.
It gets you in a rhythm of moving your head and tracking the puck.
So you make
Clearly-
sure it's full, not instead of just.
Clearly, they think he's had issues the last 2 weeks tracking the puck.
That's good.
Is that important for the goalie? Is that important?
The
So-
puck. Are you seeing it?
Let him
Yeah.
wear the glasses.
I get the idea of the training aid, though.
Right.
Right. Make you do the
take
full turn.
take your pocket full of teas and move it to the other side of your pants.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do whatever you need to do.
I just don't go to the range.
No,
I love the
Ingrained
range.
bad habits.
And I know I'm leaving my best shots out there.
The thing with the range is like, oh, another one right down the middle.
Well, it's like I'm not
Where's
doing
it?
anything right or different.
They
so
don't
what am I?
count at the range. That's the difference.
It's awful.
That's awesome.
It's like, hey,
What am I working on out here?
score when you need to score for the team.
I know.
Can you do that? You can make $10 million a year if you actually scored when the team needed it the most.
I know. Some people excel at that.
It's a tough trick to do, though.
It is.
So now that Samsonov's getting tomorrow night, and then I guess it's an obvious situation that you go right back to Murray on Friday against Ottawa.
I would think
Oh yes.
that
Regardless of what
that's
happens.
a full week for Matt Murray to practice, and he will be sick of people in that organization telling him that, including Curtis, that
Put the specs on.
yeah,
Right now, he's
you
got
need-
a
you
Rube
need more-
Goldberg machine.
You need
in-
more
in the
sunglass
crease.
work, buddy. So
You're heading to Aruba for the All-Star break with those glasses.
despite how great Samsonov could potentially play against a better New York team than, I'm sorry, your Islanders were
No,
last night.
that's not fair.
They don't want Samsonov to sit around too long and stew.
I mean, Murray to sit around.
Or
and
Murray,
yeah.
sorry.
No,
Murray
I
to stew.
think it's been too long. I thought he should have played last night personally.
You
I
do,
don't-
eh?
Yeah, everyone's got this whole thing. He's going to play against his former team. And so no, he doesn't play for them anymore. They aren't relevant.
There's a part of me that is kind of concerned about that Friday night for Matt Murray, because I think this.
What if he goes and gets pumped by the Sens? The Sens can score.
This pendulum has swung, right? Where there was a lot of Matt Murray, momentum with everybody being excited about how good he's looked,
Yep.
and momentum, really nice there.
Thank you. I tried. I missed it though.
But now it's obviously swung the fan vote, the court of public opinion here is ruling in favor of Samsonov. And if he goes out there and has another good game against a really good Rangers team tomorrow night, they win, or if he's even good and they lose, and then Murray goes out there on Friday night on home ice and he's no good against the crappy Sens, who, like you said, can score. They got a top 10 power play in the league.
They should be way better than where they are in the standings right
Given
now.
the talent.
Who, the Sens?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like underachievers.
They just can't keep the puck out of their net. They can't keep the puck out
They
of their
have
net.
D. It's the same as the Oilers early in the season. It was like, how do you expect to do that with their D?
And you think of the way the Leafs can play sometimes against a bad team on home ice, with in front of Murray, not being confident. I just see a recipe for an interesting conversation on Monday. That's what I'm getting at here.
Oh boy.
Anyways, we got Eddie O, who's sitting behind you guys there.
Oh my goodness.
Give me a chance.
Give me a chance.
All right. You all are going to want to stick around for Eddie O when we come back after the break. You are watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
All right, as promised and delivered. You know, sometimes we tell people certain people are coming on the show.
Well, I just want to know who canceled, though.
And then they don't show up.
I want to know who canceled. Justin, great to see you, buddy.
Great to have you in studio.
Thank you very much.
What an honor.
Here, you want to know the lay of the land here?
I want all
So
the
phone
details.
rings.
Yeah.
Hey, you coming in for Wednesday, huh? Yeah, Kyper, how you doing? Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. He didn't even ask me how I'm doing or nothing. Just, I knew where he was going.
Right.
Yeah, where you staying? Yeah, I'm staying. Oh, yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah, sure. I get on, I get on that World Wide Web thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 21 minutes. So where's the 5 minutes? Now, was that 5 Canadian?
Yes.
Or was that 5 U.S.?
No,
Like,
it was
what?
5 Canadian for sure. Hey,
buddy.
thanks. Welcome in. And
Thank you.
Yeah, we
Nice to see
appreciate
you guys.
and we had Rick Tocchet scheduled. I don't know if you're aware that
I
he got a
figured you did
job.
have somebody really a little bit more important.
And
he's a little busy today. Well, he's probably right now. He's probably
Pre-game nap?
napping or looking at some video.
and
probably.
you lost a teammate over at
Yeah,
TNT.
yeah. Let's look at. In all seriousness, I'm sure we'll get to whatever you guys want to get to in a second. But like, I think Toc really. I think he really was the glue there in the studio with our crew there, and just.
Yeah.
Obviously wearing a lot of different hats in the National Hockey League as an assistant to a head coach, and obviously being a tough-nosed player to play against. But he just, I think he flourished, and he really enjoyed it. Like, I think he loved it, you know?
We loved having him on our show every chance we got. And we knew the schedule got a little tougher, and then I don't know how long those rumors have been with him in Vancouver, months, and
Well, well, obviously they were just because of the relationship, right? I mean, with Patrick and with Mr. Rutherford there, and it's just, I mean, it's been around for a long, long time. And then when you heard the comments coming from Vancouver, and the just all the speculation, and the next thing you know, it's and here we are. So. When we saw him on Wednesday night, because he did studio the other night, and you can kind of feel and hear and kind of sense that
like the whole world, the whole hockey world
it was coming down the pipe, So
were you?
We were navigating very quickly, and then he brought out the dry erase board. I want to know if he brought the dry erase board from the studio to Vancouver, because if he did it, I'm sure we can get it expressed or something, and it won't take 5 minutes talk either, because. Kyper's everything's 5 minutes for him.
Just, were you surprised in the year 2023 with so many different platforms to get information out that it ended up the way it did? And
what do you mean? You mean
just how the story evolved, and how
the situation in Vancouver?
Yes, and how everybody knew that Tocchet was coming in, Bruce was getting fired, Bruce is still there. Bruce is waiting. The whole world's waiting for Bruce to get fired. Like, just the, the way
I
it
don't
played
like.
out.
Again, I don't. I mean, however, obviously we know how it played out. But at the end of the day, like with all the experience of Mr. Rutherford out there in Vancouver, I mean, obviously very surprising. And he talked about it at the presser. So I'll leave it at that. But that's in the situation. It's not easy. I lived it when I was coaching at Pittsburgh, and kind of felt it was coming, and all of a sudden, sure enough, 10 days later when we, lost a couple of games back to back, that, you get that phone call, and then, but I mean, I felt bad for Gabby. I mean, that's, you kind of know your fate there. And obviously looking back at it, and always looking at it, try to anyways, is whether I'm watching a game on television and see how analysts handle certain situations. I always try to put myself in that situation. Yeah. So at the end of the day, try to put myself in the chair of Mr. Rutherford and the Vancouver Canucks, and go, if that was our ultimate decision, then you know what? Probably should have just told Gabby, you're out. Let's put Mike Yeo in there. He's got coaching experience, right. And then let's figure it out from there. Again, for whatever reason, it didn't happen that way, and it played out. And hopefully it's a learning experience, not only for the Vancouver Canucks, but for for other teams or other businesses that are in that situation, and just say, you know what, look, let's just cut bait here. And it's not easy, but it was interesting too, because reading and watching it, and it was able, like when you read comments from guys, you take it for what it is. And then when you actually see the video and the body language and stuff, if anybody gets a chance and go back and watch Luke Shen talk for about 6.5 minutes about it. And I thought he was, so eloquent and very honest and very to the core. And I think you could tell that
he's going to miss him.
And that was weighing on everybody.
Yeah.
And, look at it is tough to win in the National Hockey League when you're healthy and you're mentally in there and everything's going on. But when you have that, on your shoulders, it makes it really difficult. So if anybody gets a chance, I give Luke Shen a lot of credit. I mean, he, again, one of the veteran guys, and that's what you need. You need your veteran guys to be able to be out there, and he was on that. So a tip of the hockey helmet to him.
That's one thing that you hear a lot of people say, why not just wait or why not just promote Mike Yeo? Is that not a part of it? Like you can't. It was an untenable working environment for the players who kind of felt like this is going to happen later. Can you wait on that and survive and live and thrive? Yeah.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Kind of this, the road that they ended up traveling. I mean, this all started at camp, right?
Oh, yeah. It was Gabby said today or day before that it was October 8th. He knew it was coming down on him.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, look at it. The new management team came in after, right? After he was there. So that is their decision making. And look at Jimmy Rutherford's been around a long, long time and has had great success. And I'm trying to get a feel for everything and what's going on. So, I just, like I said, you just kind of saw it seemed like it was going down this path. And now I think they're still paying Travis Green, are they not?
Yeah.
Or the last year or whatever he's got going, right? So we understand the market and the business side of this of, actively, paying out 3 coaches. But I mean, this isn't anything like we haven't seen. I mean, your buddy over there, Iron Mike, was getting paid by 6 teams at one point. So
I think he still is.
Yeah,
throwing 3 Russian teams.
Yeah. That's the Bobby Bo. That's the Bobby Bonilla getting paid until like 20.
How do we get on that program?
Yeah, right.
I remember I was saying my one NHL camp, I got to play golf with Bill Guerin, and he was telling me about his kids. One's in horseback riding, one's in gymnastics, one's whatever. I was like, that has to be pretty expensive. And he was like, well, not to be a dick, but I'm rich. He's getting paid by the Sharks, the Blues, the Islanders. He was getting like 4 NHL paychecks at the time. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's kind of like you.
Can't believe he
Kipper.
looked at you.
That's kind of like you the last couple of years.
Oh no, not even close.
Jeez.
No, you're still getting paid by Chicago Blackhawks, aren't you?
No.
Come on.
No.
Seattle money's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, Seattle's nice and TNT is very nice. Yeah.
Hey, and you're solely responsible for this turnaround of the Kraken.
Nothing to do with it.
Can't be just John Forslund.
Oh, it is all Johnny. It's always Johnny. Oh, he is awesome.
Seriously?
Awesome.
When is it going to strike midnight and we're going to see them?
Well, why does it have to strike midnight?
I don't know. I'm just asking you because they're not supposed to be as good as this.
Well, I guess I'll ask you this: is that why with? And I think the narrative. I was on with you guys. I want to say maybe 10 days, 2 weeks ago, whatever. But like that, there was a narrative where, like, how are they doing this? Because this is the same team,
right?
Stop right there.
Yeah.
Not the same.
No, it's 4
not.
different guys.
Well, no, right? But
at least 4.
Well, let's go back.
Yeah,
Tanev got hurt and Schwartz got hurt. And there you got Schwartz is a top 9 guy.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, Turbo's. I mean, he can play with your top guys. You can put him on a 4th line.
I think he's the best 4th line guy in the league right now.
I won't argue with it because he's had himself an unbelievable season. Again, 2 guys that weren't there last year for the majority of the year are healthy. Matty Beniers came in and played the last 10 games of the regular season. They went out and got Bjorkstrand. They got Burakovsky. They picked up Justin Schultz. And then Martin Jones, who played a lot better in Philadelphia than I think his numbers and, the eye test will tell you. No disrespect to the numbers because they are what they are. But he played better than maybe what his record was. So how many guys did I name?
Half dozen.
Yeah, right. That's 7 guys.
Yeah.
So they've, those guys all of a sudden are in your top 9. And you're playing with the puck way more. They can outscore their problems. And early in the year, the power play won them a boatload of games. Kind of gone a little dry here, but it does. Their penalty killing dug themselves a hole, and they just haven't been able to really move up from being in the the bottom 2 or 3 in the league. But when they went on that 7-game road trip and they won them all, and that's never happened before in the history of the game, is their penalty kill went up against, let me try to get this right. They went Edmonton, Toronto, Buffalo.
Boston in the mix?
In Boston. Those four are top, exactly. Top 6, I think, at that particular time. And they only gave up, like, obviously the Boston game they won. They shut them out. But the other games, they only gave up 1, where they had been giving up 2 at times. So long-winded on that. They've been relatively healthy, but lately they've kind of got bit here recently. Lost Schultz. Schwartz was out. Burakovsky didn't play the other night against Colorado.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look at, as long as they get the consistent goaltending from Jones and Grubauer has been very, very good. His numbers are what they are, but he has given them a chance to win in the last. So I think he's found his game. So, and I think Dave Haxtell, I haven't heard Dave Haxtell's name at all for being in the running for Coach of the Year. And look we know what Monty's doing in Boston, which, just let's start, get the chisel out and start putting in the, Montgomery on it because, I mean, this is incredible what they're doing. But he deserves a heck of a lot of credit for the job that he's done. So that's a fine. I'll put it in a tip jar. That's my bad. So, you know what I mean? Like that's how it is. And can they keep going? I mean, look at the division. Like who's really, and I know Edmonton's playing well. Calgary kind of looks to me like they found something here the last couple of games. They just kind of look like they're.
Even with the slimmest of margin overtime win against Columbus last night.
But they're winning that game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 weeks ago they don't win that game, So I've liked the way that they played a couple of games. So Vegas has kind of been in and out here recently. LA is, LA's played really, really well, but they had a stretch of games there where, they had the 9-8 game against Seattle, So the division, I think the division is wide open, and it's a team that can, I believe at the end of the day, the team that can stay healthy, and then a team can, get their specialty teams in order.
We've got Eddie Olczyk in studio, live and in color.
I still haven't answered the question. Who canceled on you? That's what I want to know.
Sammy's got the list of canceled
don't blame
guests.
Sammy. Sammy came down. He greeted me. I got out of the Uber, and I was in the right place. I went in the right door.
Just so lucky in
job.
town for TNT. Big game.
I've been in TO for, I think I've been here like 4 of the last 5 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Seattle was here, and then I think we had like 3 TNT games, obviously with Matthews and Marner and the way the Leafs are playing. So it's great for us, and ratings have been great. So we're happy to be up here.
And a big one tomorrow night, New York Rangers, Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah. That'd be a heck of a game.
It would be.
I did play. Oh, you did too.
Yeah, sometimes. You remember?
Yeah, I do remember.
You guys won a Stanley Cup together. That sounds fun.
No, I wasn't. I forgot that he was with the Leafs at one point. So I knew I was. So Justin.
Right.
So where do you have the New York Rangers in terms of still one of the youngest teams?
Yeah.
You look at that blue line, and it's getting better. Keandre Miller's going to be a star.
How good is it?
A star.
I mean, like, how do you not look at that and just automatically, without even just going up and down the league? Like, I look at Carolina's defense when healthy, and I go, you know what, they're pretty underrated, and they're probably not in a lot of people's top 5 because I don't think people still, respect them as much as they should. But I look at the Rangers' defense and go, wow, if that defense can just stay together and stay healthy, and look at can you upgrade maybe? Is Schneider the guy at 6 or whatever? However you may look at it. You can never have enough of depth on the back end. But that D is like, sometimes you look at it and just go, wow, this is a challenge and a half.
Is Trouba having the same type of year? Kipper loves Trouba too, as he was thumping everyone last year. I feel like this season not as much. As he's been on track for you?
I think he's been as consistent, like since he's gotten to New York, like he's gone to another level. Speaking of defense, you mentioned Trouba. You remember, what was it? I'm going to just throw a number out and you guys can tell me. You go back 5 years ago, the defense that Winnipeg had.
Oh, God, was it Bufflin?
With Buff and Trouba, right?
Yeah.
Morris, right? You had Sherratt there, right? I mean, like their D.
Kulikov?
Their D was like, you said, how did they not get to a cup final with the D and the guy in goal, obviously? And I think Connor Hellebuck is, I love that guy. Like, I think he's right there. Like, I think he's a top 2 or 3 goalie in the league. And so, but yeah, the Rangers defense to me, it's, could it be the difference this year for them to get them, to push them ahead a little bit here and take that next step? But
we watched the Islanders last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. I think
not the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, not the first 15.
Holy cow! I mean, now I know. Last time I checked, the game is 60 minutes.
45 lost you the game.
I understand.
The 45 lost you the game.
I understand.
But the 15 was really good.
Oh my gosh, it wasn't even close. No. I mean, at least on TV. Anyways,
no, you're right.
If we are looking at the East, I mean, is it locked already in terms of what we're going to see here?
Yeah, you mean the Leafs and Lightning?
No, not so much. I'm just going
what
beyond
do you mean not
that.
so much?
Buffalo, Florida, Islanders. Can they knock out Washington or Rangers for a wild card spot here?
Are you putting Pittsburgh in that?
I'm putting Pittsburgh in that as well.
Yeah, in that grouping, right?
I am.
Well, I mean, I think everybody expects. I mean, I'm expecting Florida at some point here to take a run, but every time I look or whatever, it's like, no, they're one game over 500.
Right.
Or 2 games over. They're one game under 500. They're 500. Like, that's been, like, to me, there are a lot of stories, and you guys talk about it on a daily basis. You guys do an unbelievable job. But, like, how often is anybody sitting here going, were they not, like, at the top of at the heap last year? And then, sweeping and then the coaching change. Like, I thought the situation Andrew Brunette got put into last year, like, I think he handled it unbelievably well. His team I did that series. I did Tampa, Florida last year, and Florida didn't get to their game until game 4.
Yeah.
I guess, it's always easy to blame the coach. I lived it, but they had some guys that they didn't play very well in that Tampa series. Yeah. And
was it an overreaction then, the offseason?
Well, I mean, obviously, major changes when you do, you make the coaching change, right. and then you make obviously the huge trade.
That we're too soft team move.
Well,
people wanted the Leafs to make that move.
I would have liked to seen them tweak, because they did have that element in their game. When you look at some of the guys that they have in the lineup, I mean, is Bennett not a guy like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Right? I mean, you got
they went toe-to-toe with Tampa in some of those games that we watched.
No, yeah, right. But, I mean, you go back to the playoff before, like, that was as great as a series that I've seen.
And vicious.
Yeah, 6-5, right. 5-4, so I think I think to answer that, I mean, to get a little tougher, Kipper, I think it was there. But, look at, you don't win, and expectations are, and look at, obviously, Bill Zito, the general manager there, thought that, well, it was a lot of this had to do with Bruno. And he didn't give him the opportunity to come back. So, and here they are now. I mean, they're a bubble team right now. Are they catching either Toronto or Tampa?
No. I mean, they're a -4 goal differential team.
Yeah.
I don't know, people don't care about plus minus all the time, but we're over halfway. We're 50 games in.
Yeah, no, you are. I mean, you are what your numbers say you are.
Right.
At the end of the day, but like, I think that's really an interesting. Like, that's one team you sit there and go, holy cow! Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, let's see who let's see who you really are at this particular time. And Matthew Tkachuk has been. I mean, he's been unbelievable.
Everything.
I mean, he's been
everything.
When I see those two kids, I call them kids because I play with Walt. I'm just like, geez, that I don't know how to say that apple. That watermelon didn't fall far from the tree there. You know what I mean? Like, I look at him, I go, oh, there's Walt. There's Chantel.
There's 3 players in the league leading their team in points and PIMs, and 2 of them are Tkachuk.
Not shocking. Yeah. Shocking. But Florida's, I mean, to me, Florida's I want to say the wild card. I'm not talking about I'm talking about for the wild card out of those teams you were talking about. I would say the Florida Panthers, because I think everybody expects them to make a run here, and they're up against it. Are they not, cap wise? Like, they're really, really. Like, it's snug, so I don't know what they can do.
17 teams up against the cap right now, and that's why we continue to see zero movement.
Yeah.
Teams would like to make trades. Yeah. They just can't, and we'll wait maybe another 3 or 4 weeks before we see anything of significance.
When I was coaching in Pittsburgh a long time ago, it's like 2 things that I learned, and one I learned later because obviously the cap evolved is figure out, doesn't matter what level that your players are playing for you, draft picks, juniors, college, American League, whatever, NHL, is figure out who and what your guys are before the rest of the league does.
Right.
And all hockey people, and you're gonna make mistakes at some point. You're gonna get rid of a guy early, and he's gonna flourish. And we can name a couple of guys. But then, as well as that, in talking to people and learning and having gone through some interview processes, it's just the understanding of is if you can have cap space, you can dance with anybody at any time. And I know it's hard to do, and sometimes you got to be able to, do the gymnastics with the numbers. But if you can have that ability, and when you're in a position to either go for it or to maybe get some assets for down the road, and you have that ability, you put yourself in a hell of a spot.
Is that why Boston's only lost 5 games so far this season? Because they figured out what they have a lot quicker than say Toronto, who's still trying to figure out if Joey Anderson's a fourth line guy for them?
Well, I would answer it this way: is that that is the captain and the guys that he has around him that follow. Like Patrice Bergeron to me just is the. I mean, he's
the modern day Mark Messier.
He's the ultimate,
isn't he?
He's going to win, what, a 7 Selke?
And I'm not talking about style. I'm just talking about how he can control vision and
a culture of a team.
Yeah.
A culture.
Yeah, and in his actions, certainly, I'm talking about Bergeron.
Yes.
Is when the way that he plays. And being around the Bruins, had, I think, maybe 3 games in about 12 days. And talking to a lot of people there, is there just seems to be a feel, Kyper and Justin, that, again, these are my words, from my perception, is that with Bergeron being on a 1-year deal, Krejci's the same, right? There just seems to be almost like, come on, guys, like this might be it.
Win one more.
The old last dance.
Yes.
And it just feels like that.
Yeah.
But to me, Bergeron is the guy, and you have Marchand, who's developed into a top 15 player in the league.
Oh yeah,
right. And then Jake DeBrusk and let's give Bruce Cassidy some credit here. Going back last year with Jake, is obviously came out publicly that he wanted out, and he had obviously wasn't playing all that great. And then Bruce Cassidy gave him an opportunity to start killing penalties. And if you look at the numbers since he started killing penalties last year, and then Monty, now Jim Montgomery,
keeping him in the game a little bit more,
and he's out. He's active. He's moving his feet, and he has turned, like, in the last year, and I know he's hurt right now. He had the 2 goals in the Winter Classic
on a broken leg.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's it comes from Louis for sure.
Yeah, it's all Louis for sure.
But, so, like, if you look at that emergence of a guy that, okay, we're expecting this guy, all of a sudden he does, and he signs an extension, and and has turned his, I don't want to say he's turned his career around, but he's turned his career around in Boston with killing some penalties and being a little bit more active. So, but I think the way that they've done things in Boston, and look at whoever thought that, I mean, I didn't. Who thought Allmark was going to be, is going to be, actually be Frank
Buffalo.
Vezina,
No, apparently not the Bruins or the Sabres.
Yeah.
So with that culture we're talking about, and the way that, Bergeron has been playing on a pretty cheap contract and a 1-year deal, and, Marchand has been underpaid for a long time. Pasternak's deal is coming up. Right. Is there enough of a culture there that Pasternak would be the next one to say, I'm probably worth 12.5, but I'll play for 10?
Sure.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah.
It just feels impossible to me. But then again, I don't have money. So, I mean, he's got a few in the bank.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that.
Are you really?
Yeah.
That he would take less money to stay
a little
there?
less,
Yeah.
Man. I mean,
you want to say 88 for 8?
Man, that's a good deal.
8 years, right?
Yeah, that's a great deal.
Right? I mean,
and could he go out July 1st and say, I want to be a $12 million player, and maybe get somebody to go in? I don't know.
Yeah.
But he will be drawn into that Patrice Bergeron, Marchand, Krejci. We all took less. We're lifers. We're going to love it here.
Don't underestimate the pickup of Hampus Lindholm either.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that was a Donnie Sweeney. That was a hell of a move.
That's 6.5.
Hell of a move.
Think he'd help the Leafs or no? Probably.
Right. But but they're going to have to bump it up off of what they paid Charlie McAvoy. It's not the same. It's just going to be a little bit more. And I think
when is his deal up, Lindholm? Is that who you're talking about?
No,
Lindholm?
no. I'm talking about McAvoy.
makes 9.5.
Oh yeah, yeah, right.
So
yeah.
you're going to have to pay him more than McAvoy.
Pasternak.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pasternak.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
but not,
what's
10?
Okay. Well, all right. Well,
10
so
2.
if he asks for 88 for 8, what are you going to say?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, we'll give you 87 2. Okay. Where do we sign?
Yeah, I don't see him going anywhere.
Wow.
I don't either, but that's, again,
Now, can the Leafs? Do the Leafs have to make a significant move to close the gap on Boston?
significant.
Yes.
Check.
I don't know.
Top 4D, a top 6 forward. Would they have to give up their prospect in Matthew Nyes? Would it be worth taking the chance?
Well, I mean, how much sand is left in the hourglass? Like, is this something that's like,
Are we talking?
do you have to get to the conference finals?
Are we talking about Kyle Dubas's sand?
Yeah,
Or
the GM sand.
Well,
is
no,
that-
I'm saying
he's sandless.
I'm saying the organization.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, I can't answer that. But look they got a good enough team to go on a run and give themselves a chance. But like, again, we know we got a lot of hockey to go. I mean, I said this on our TNT broadcast a couple of weeks ago when we were here. It was like, well, start booking your flights between here and Tampa.
Yeah.
For round one, because is anybody catching Boston? I mean,
No.
Doesn't look like it. Could the two teams flip flop here at some point? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Is anybody catching the third team in the division?
No.
Probably not. So I would say, Kyper, more to answer your question is, what do they need to take out Tampa?
I wonder, would they do that? Like, given the choice between a couple of guys, actually say, all right, this guy maybe makes us a better team, but this guy helps us more against Tampa. Would you do that? Would you focus on one team specifically?
I focus to try to win a Stanley Cup.
And the only way you can win is if you win one round.
Oh, I like
Win the first round.
Yeah,
Now,
I get it.
you would assume, right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. We talked about that in 94, and we just took us a while to get there, and we just, okay, whatever you guys say, I'll lead you guys in a stretch, and this guy will be the clown in the locker room over here.
Do you remember that first round against the Islanders? Yeah. They didn't touch the puck.
Yeah.
Steve Thomas, he says to me after the series, we didn't touch the puck.
Just skating around. Zamboni, one end of the ring. Yeah.
But that's not the case against the Tampa Bay Lightning for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
You know what, Justin, the thing that was really, really tough for us that year was the travel. No, for us, because we weren't playing.
Oh, I see.
Like, come on, let's get on a plane here. Let's we could use another $55 a per diem. It's like, let's see, what was it, Kip? It was Islanders, right? Yeah,
For the Devils?
Wash.
Islanders, Wash, Jersey.
Devils.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then geez, we got to go all the way to Vancouver. Jeez. That was
you were fresh for your first travel.
And the Canucks, the poor Canucks, I think they were like in St. Louis. I think they were Calgary, Toronto.
Oh, they were
right?
just
and then on
spent.
New York, Oh, yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah, don't
spent.
kid yourself. Don't kid yourself, because we went in there after being up 3-1 in a series in Game 6. We went to Vancouver, and we probably played our worst game in probably 50 games.
Yeah.
Thank God. There were 2 days in between Game 6 and Game 7.
I was a boy growing up in BC, watching the games, rooting for the Canucks,
Okay.
Sorry, hey, listen, I'm just telling you. There's a lot of, all I remember is a lot of
Did you have
posts.
pull-ups on or what?
There was a lot of posts.
Islander pajamas.
I was, it was a pajama boy pre-Tavares, yeah.
So I think it's a fair question, but I haven't looked at some of the cap things in a while, but what can they do? But look, if you're asking me, you're doing whatever you need to. I'm saying, whatever Kyle and Shanny think that they need to do, I think you pull out all the stops and go, you know what, we need X. Okay, how do we go and who's the best X out there? Yeah. And then you worry about it.
If we started to really put together an NHL trade list right now, we're seeing some big names. Some of the bigger names that we've seen in
Kane,
a long
Taves,
time.
O'Reilly. I mean,
based
Timo Meyer.
on the press of the cap, the market has a chance to be really disappointed to see names not moved here.
Yeah, or just low cost, right? Like if there's a lot of guys available and Kane wants to go play somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of those guys do have the no movement, so they dictate the terms and go, okay, I'm Nick Kypreos and I have a no movement clause. I only want to go to one place and one place only, and that's Toronto.
Claude Giroux in Florida.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And Flyer fans were disappointed for that. And there's no question that if Pat Kane decides to get moved, they're not going to get Pat Kane market value for him.
Well, what
would Chicago say, no, Pat, we're not moving you?
No, I would assume that, again, they don't have, just because a guy comes to you and says, I want out of here. Well, you know, we're not, we don't have to. But obviously, it's a different situation.
Oh, my gosh.
No, you know what I'm saying.
You also, Davidson's a young GM. He can't go out and get smoked in his first big trade.
I don't think he needs to be embarrassed by it. And if them a team that's trying to get
if it
Pat
does happen,
Kane,
I don't think he won't. He won't.
Right?
He won't. He won't. But again, if a team like that's the issue for teams that give out the no movement clauses like they're candy. Yeah. Is that you get in that situation. I mean, you'd like to have one from A and one from B and then be able to, get the best deal if the guy's willing to go there. He can come to you and say, I want to go to team A, but hey, you know what? Would you think about team B? Mm-hmm. Right? Because my understanding with the Giroux situation last year is that the Rangers had an unbelievable deal on the table.
Really?
And he chose, after telling him that might be somewhere, not to go. He wanted to only go to Ottawa then, So again, you look at it from a team's point of view and go, oh, geez. But you gave him the no movement, so he's driving the bus.
Yeah.
All right, I'm told by our producer, Sammy, we're going to take a quick break, but I'm going to show you the power of our YouTube channel because right now we have 116.
What is that?
It's YouTube. It's like this whole network.
It's on that web you
It's
mentioned
about you?
before. It's
No, it's our
wide
show.
and worldly.
Oh.
Look, look, right there.
I don't even
Okay.
have my glasses on.
But I'm going to tell you how
You're up there.
powerful.
Sorry, Sammy.
I'm going to tell you how powerful you are in the YouTube world.
We're Winnipeg or
116 thumbs up.
116?
Yeah.
Does that
But
mean,
now I'm
does that
saying,
mean there's 114 that are watching?
no, we've got almost 1,200 people watching.
Really?
Yeah, which is actually
So
a pretty good number.
10%.
Yes.
Wow.
So I'm
And
going
then
to.
the other 90 are giving me the double bird. Is that what it is?
That's a
Can you,
different
can, you,
button.
can you put the double bird up with thumbs up? I want to know, how do you decipher between the double bird and a thumbs up?
We're going to find out
Indistinguishable.
because I'm asking everybody to give Eddie O
No, just that. No,
a
we're not
thumbs
doing
up.
This is
You know,
not,
it's
no.
already done. It's out there. I'm challenging everybody.
out
Where we are at 116. I want to see how many thumbs up we get for Eddie O after the break.
Stop doing that.
Yes.
It's only 5
already
minutes.
done.
Yeah, the hotel's only
It's
5
already
minutes
done.
away.
Hey,
Okay,
plenty
yeah.
more to come up with Eddie Olczyk. Get those questions ready, Sammy, because we are going to pepper Edzo after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
Wheel, Kyper, and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Back in studio here. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Eddie Olczyk. Eddie! People think I'm just crazy.
That's fine.
You are. I gotta tell you, Justin.
No,
and everybody,
no
and
stories.
116
No
people that are
stories.
watching us on MeTube. Or no, wait, YouTube. You said
YouTube.
YouTube. Okay.
Me too.
Sorry.
A few more thumbs
Yeah.
up. There,
Okay.
Okay, 116 to almost 260.
Okay. Now,
Just for you.
And what about the
You
what about
got
the
thumbs.
birds and the thumbs?
You don't want to know.
Okay, that's okay.
Don't ask.
That's okay. It's all right. It's the real world. I got to tell you.
No, I don't know what you're going to say. but I want you to-
I'm not. I would
Okay.
never go in any other direction. Like we had the best part about the game are the people.
Yeah.
And the journey that you're able to go through. And I was able to go through it with him and talk about Glenn Healy, Mike Hartman, guys just,
Huddy.
just role
Lidster.
players,
Yeah.
accept and execute your role and wait for your name to be called. But then when you're able to interact with Adam Graves and Brian Leach and Mark Messier and Kevin Lowe and Craig McTavish and Mike Richter and go on and on and on. Like when we see each other for the first time in a long time,
Mm-hmm.
at least for me, it feels like 1994 again.
Right.
Like it really does.
But slower and
Yeah,
fatter.
oh, no, yeah,
Let
right,
me tell
exactly.
you, with me sitting with you guys, it feels like 1994 sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. You were in your pajamas. You
That's
said
right.
watching the
Yeah,
cup final.
but that's what winning does,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
That is a lifelong bond. It's interesting because
And you went through that watching your families
Yeah.
in New
Yeah,
York.
and, I
Exactly,
think
yeah.
about my own experience as a player and some of the the lower leagues and whatever. And the coolest part about it is the times like you guys, I won at the lower levels, but finding a way through the tough times and the stuff that sucks and, the resilience. You talk about Mark Messier all the time because it really does take a certain type of person and it changes the way you think, seeing someone else deal with adversity and hard times. And I think you take that after your career to whatever your career is next in your family life. And when stuff sucks, you know that some people can handle it well. And, you just learn so much. It really is a journey. And
Yeah,
I'm sure that's what keeps you guys bonded.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the winning helps without a doubt, but I think the adversity and the challenges individually, collectively, how coaches see things, how players see things, and to be able to have somebody there, regardless if he's making $5 schmil and he's the captain or he's making $5.50 and he's an extra guy, everybody has the ability to be able to galvanize and pick each other up when they know that they're going through a tough time, or somebody has the courage to be able to stand up to the coach, whether it's a top line guy or, an extra guy like, Kyper and I, but it's always, it's always special to be able to get back. What are you thinking about?
I was just thinking about like what you're talking about.
Or do you have gas over there? You're leaning.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you? Was John Garrett and Shorty now?
Well, what happened?
Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
There was a
really?
big fart sound during a game,
It's
and
a stage.
Shorty just paused and said, "Was that you, John?" Right in the middle of the telecast. Seemed appropriate with everything that Vancouver went through in the last week and a half.
Stinker on the organization.
All right.
But just the galvanizing of players, and it's not usually, just players. And I, just a quick story that I don't know if it really gets talked about is we had a guy in our PR department, Matty Loughran, who, for whatever reason was going through a tough time the year we won the Stanley Cup. And Mess kind of brought us all together and said, we got to do something for him. So we kind of all got together and got him a Mercedes-Benz.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And then they ask him to meet us by the Zamboni. The whole team's around this car.
Yeah.
And Mark just gives him the keys.
Ah.
And honest to God, the amount of emotion that you watched a human being go through in that second.
Yeah.
Wow. It was a great moment for
Brought
our
you by
team.
Mercedes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's super cool though. That is coming together for people.
Yeah, and I've always said this is that I'm not putting the traveling secretary people into the same, I guess I'm putting them in with the verbiage with the trainers and stuff, but those people for hockey players are the lifeline. Like they are the lifeline. If you are good to them, they will take care of you the rest of your life.
Oh, my
because
gosh.
when I see guys now in the league that are still,
And Mark,
active.
yeah. And Mark got it. He understood that
yeah.
there's no weak links in that room, and this just didn't stop at the players. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to some questions. Sammy, what do you got for us?
Eddie doesn't have headphones on, so we can't hear him.
All right, get your headphones on, Eddie,
There we
and
go.
we'll
I got it.
rifle off some
I got it. We're
questions.
good. Okay.
Beautiful. You can hear me?
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay. So this is for a question for Eddie O from John Mitchell on YouTube.
Hi, John.
If there's one thing you'd like to see the NHL tweak, would it be playoff seeding, 3-on-3 overtime to shootout, something else?
Is something else C?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
No,
I don't want another double bird. I would say, John, is one thing that I've talked about for a while is I would love to see, and I'm sure the experiment would have to be in the American League. I would love to see the long change in the first and third period and not the second. So go to the long change in the first and third period and then have the second in your normal zone.
I got to tell you, I love that.
I would look, it doesn't mean there are going to be more goals, but I guarantee you there's going to be more chances. And if you have more chances, there's a chance to have more goals. So that would be the one thing that I would like to see at least experimented with. We know how teams change in the second period, and it gets a little, it gets a little crazy every once in a while. I really believe I think it would lend itself to more chances if you had the long change in the first and third period.
Imagine that you're an exhausted D-man in the third period, and you got to make that change, trying to find your way off.
And all of a sudden, you're out there for 3.5 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
You, quickly, if changing a few things.
Well, first off, I like that idea a lot. How about if on a penalty shot you don't score, you still get a power play? Maybe a 1 minute power play. Let's get weird. But some sort of power play time. Michael Bunting, a guy takes a penalty on him.
right.
The average success rate on a penalty shot is like, I don't know, 20% or something. It's pretty low.
Yeah, it is low.
And so the Maple Leafs kind of get denied a chance to put out their super talented power play unit. Maybe 2 minutes is a bit excessive, but
Okay, can I take it a step further?
please do.
What happens if Sheldon Keefe pulls out the red challenge flag there and goes, we don't want the penalty shot, we want the PP?
Yeah.
Looks at his own guy in the eyes and says, you ain't got it, kid.
There's more value in knocking off 2 minutes of their inability
Well, if
to
you're leading
press.
the game, that's a good point,
Right?
too.
Like
You're
I
leading
want,
the game.
I want seconds off the clock.
Mhm.
I may not need that goal.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that for
More
the
of
non-goal
a more
point,
of a
strategic.
strategy. It's like in
Yeah.
football,
Yes.
right? You know,
Run the ball.
I
yeah.
haven't watched a CFL game in a long time, probably since I was in Winnipeg.
One more
and seen
before-
the Bombers. Hold on a second. Let
Okay.
me finish my thought.
You know I'm a professional host, don't
Oh,
you?
yeah. You are a host, all right. Now you made me lose my train of thought.
Come on,
it's,
dig
it's,
down
it's,
deep.
it's denying. It's saying no. I don't want the penalty. We're just going to take the down and move on.
Right.
So that's kind of this similar aspect for saying, you know what, I don't want this guy to take the penalty shot. I want to be able to.
I came in
Yeah,
today,
go for
and, not to throw Sam under the bus, but he was like, I'd have bet everything I own on Bunting not scoring. He's just not like he doesn't get that look.
I'm sure
He's
he
not
probably could have
appreciative.
found that somewhere out there.
Yeah.
Do we
Definitely.
still need 3-on-3 during the regular season?
I love 3-on-3. Don't take it from me. What do you want to do?
All right,
Get rid of it.
For what?
It's not real hockey.
what is a shootout?
No, get rid of
Okay.
that too.
Okay, so
I don't know.
What are we doing?
I'm not suggesting we fix it.
Yeah.
But we added those because we worried about not quite
We're getting a winner.
living
We're
up-
getting a winner.
living
That's
up.
what Kipper. It's getting a winner. End of story. There's nothing
Flip
else.
a coin.
Yeah. What do you mean flip a
are.
coin?
With 3-on-3.
Just flip a coin and get it over with. Everybody can go
Now
beat
everybody's
traffic.
saying, geez, these guys keep
Do you need like?
regrouping
but
and
it
they
was-
come back and, you know.
I think it was more because we wanted to add value to the entertainment dollar than it was more so declaring a winner.
I think it comes with it and a lot better chance to get a winner if you're with only 3 guys out there.
Okay.
Are you right? On either side.
All right.
Is that fair?
Fair. What do you got, Sammy?
This one's from Dirk in Oakville on our text line.
Dirk?
What is your favorite memory of playing with the Leafs?
Well, favorite memory. I better say it was on November 10th, 1990, when my wife was on a scale of 1 to 10, a 7 of giving birth to our second child, and then I got called out of the delivery room at Scarborough Centenary Hospital, and Bob Stellick, our PR man, was on the phone asking, because we played that night against Chicago on Hockey Night in Canada, and asking if Diana had the baby yet. And I said, no, not yet, but I'm coming to the game. Don't worry about it. And he goes, well, call us before you come. And this is like 4:00 in the afternoon for an 8:00 game. And he goes, I go, Bob, there's not enough time. No cell phone. I'm at the nurse's station.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, just call us before you come. I go back in. My wife's like, well, where you been? I go, my aunt's sick. They call again. They really want to talk to you. I leave the room. The doctor is at the foot of the bed. He's got his gloves on. He goes, okay, let me put my catcher's mitt on here, Diana. Hold on 1 second. And she's on a 1 to 10. She's a 7.
Yeah.
They call him. They go out to the nurse's station. And they go, yeah, Eddie Floyd Smith here. Hey, Floyd. I'm coming to the game. Diana's getting ready. I'll be there within an hour. I just want to let you know we just traded you to the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh, come on.
I said, what? He goes, yeah, it's out there, and we had to notify you. And I'm like, you got to be bleeping me. My wife's on her back, legs up, on a scale of 1 to 10, and you guys just, So I hang up the phone. I'm like, I can't believe it. I just got traded. He told me I got traded to Winnipeg. So I'm like, no cell phone. I go to the payphone. I got like a card to, punch in the numbers, and I called my agent, Ricky Curran. I called my dad. I called Mark Osborne because we got traded with one another, and I called Gary Lehman. I'm gone maybe 5 minutes. I go back in the delivery room. My wife is like this. I walk in. She's like this. She looks at me. She goes, where have you been? I'm like, my aunt's sick. She looks at me, looks at the ceiling, and the doctor's at the foot of the bed, and he's got his hands like this, and he's like listening to this conversation. She goes, where are we going? I went, oh my God. I go, guess. She looks at me, looks at the ceiling. She goes, Winnipeg. And I'm like, pregnant and psychic. I go, that is lethal.
Wow.
Next thing you know, I look at the foot of the bed. Doctor's like this. He goes, starts pulling off the rubber gloves. My wife just shut right down. Tommy Olczyk was born 3 hours later at Scarborough Centenary.
Any thought to name?
I mean, that's as fun as a moment that I had, considering my life had been turned upside down. Because I mean, look at Winnipeg, ended up being one of the best places I ever played. But
you didn't want to name him Winnie. Never thought of it.
No. Named after my father-in-law, Thomas.
That's great.
Yeah.
Were you there when Ballard was still alive?
Oh yeah.
Did you happen to see the doc recently?
A big documentary came out this week.
I heard about it. I did not. Yeah.
What are your lasting memories of playing for Harold Ballard?
I mean, he was very nice to me, and was always around. And I remember like first couple of games in Toronto at the old building, you'd just be like, tying your skates, you come walking around the corner, and all of a sudden here comes Puck, his dog. His dog goes flying right through the thing over here.
Size of a horse.
All of a sudden you hear, oh, shit. Dog took a dump right over in the corner. And it's like, all of a sudden here comes Gunnar Kinnear, our trainer there. He ends up. He ends up.
He's got a dog bag.
Yeah, he's got. Well, I know doggy bags. Then I mean, he's
shovel.
He's got somebody's stick there.
Playing.
But no, look at. He was great. Obviously, one time we were playing. We had practice, and John Brophy was coaching, and all of a sudden, we're doing drills at the old Garden, and you could see Mr. Ballard come in with Puck, and they'd sit right up in the Reds there, and all of a sudden you hear, John! John! During practice, all of a sudden it's like, hi, Mr. Ballard. Tell those boys to work hard for you down there. Okay, Mr. Ballard. There we go. Then Brof would, snap, and we'd start doing sideboards for about 15 minutes. So he was great. He was
nothing
great.
about it. The guy lived in the building. He was just around.
Yeah.
Did you ever get up to that apartment?
No, I did not.
Wonder what it would be worth today. You could rent it for
Oh yeah, not a
what a place though.
Loblaws owns it now. It'd be a lot now.
Now it's aisle 7.
What a place! Loved it there. Yeah, it was It's kind of when I got traded here from Chicago, obviously playing in my hometown, which was unbelievable. But when I got traded here, I kind of felt like there was less pressure here in Toronto in '87 than I had when I was at home, playing at home. And obviously that was very unique of being a Chicago guy and playing for the Blackhawks. But kind of for me in my career, like if you just look at my numbers when I got to Toronto,
great numbers.
And I went to center, which I had played pretty much my whole life until I got the Olympic team and my first 3 years in Chicago. And then I got to center and just kind of took advantage of the opportunity.
And you watched Mitch Marner break a record that you held with Daryl Sittler.
Yeah. 33 or 34 years shared that record. Yeah.
Thanks.
18 consecutive or
18.
18.
Yeah, 18 with a point. Yeah. I had a chance once Mitch was getting close. I was able to make contact with him, and he was very gracious. And he wasn't born when I was playing, but I'm sure I understand his dad's a big Leaf fan, and told him kind of what type of player I was and whatever. But just wished him luck all the way. And I had a chance the last time I was in town to finally see him face to face since he smashed a record, and we had a great talk. He's a wonderful young kid and young man, I guess I should say. But I was proud. I mean, that was to share anything with Daryl Sittler. Like, you can walk pretty proudly for a long time. For
really
that. So,
cool.
But I'm glad Mitch smashed it, because if he would have been at 19, I'd be a little pissed off.
Yeah,
just
at least
carry
carry
on.
on. Yeah,
exactly. So, but yeah, it was fun. It was fun to kind of reminisce for all that time.
And it was really fun that you came in.
That's it.
It's it.
Wow.
We're getting kicked off.
Are we?
Yeah.
Got to pay your salary, huh?
And big plans for you tonight. What?
What do you mean? Big
I don't
plans?
know. You're in
Meetings.
Toronto.
We got lots of meetings.
Right? You're in Toronto.
Got lots of
maybe
meetings.
maybe a
But can you just be honest with the people on YouTube? Is that what it is, YouTube? Can you tell them who was supposed to be here, and then you called me out of the bullpen? What do you think? I'm the Terminator? Okay, we want Tom Hankey to come. You know who Tom Hankey is?
I was a Jays
the
guy.
Terminator. Remember when he did the Aqua Velva commercials?
Yes.
Looking good, Terminator.
He had it going.
Yeah.
You are our Terminator. Listen, enjoy your dinner, your
Love
buffet
you.
at the Brass Rail tonight. Just relax, hang out.
Why would you go there? No, not why would you go there. Why would you go there?
Eddie
Justin, great
Olczyk,
to see you, man.
everybody.
Thanks.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
We're back tomorrow.